Hey guys, my name is Matthew Leung-Harrison, better known by my online name, which is Froxon. The skills I'm demonstrating for something impressive are analysis and teaching. I'm the founder and lecturer at the reasonably large channel on YouTube, UNSW LolSoc. We have 40,000 subscribers and 1.3 million views, and people have watched 19 million minutes of my lectures online, which is equivalent to 36 years. Here is the country distribution of my viewers. So, in 2012, in my second year, I heard about a mythical being named Richard Buckland from my friends Michael and Howard, who was supposedly a godlike teacher, whom they held in very high esteem. So I searched him up on YouTube and I watched his gamification of learning video, and I quickly agreed. I decided that I wanted to take inspiration from his lectures and create my own lecture series on YouTube about League of Legends strategy. At that point, I set out finding people to create the UNSW League of Legends Society, and thus create my own lecture series, Leaguecraft101. So this video will detail my progression from a passable public speaker, educator and analyst to where I am now. So here are some pictures of me giving a lecture. So, at the beginning, while the quality of the information I was giving out was quite good, people who were watching the video would have some window crack moment, which is when you realize someone is doing something really annoying that you didn't really notice before, but then you can't stop thinking about how annoying it is. In my case, it was saying like, saying okay, or starting to say something and then getting confused, or losing track of what I was saying. And around the time I got all this negative feedback, I decided that I was going to put in a massive effort to learn to speak properly, and also to make my teaching more organized and structured. I decided to practice speaking in front of the mirror to improve my skills. And here are some of the example criticisms I received. Now, each lecture takes around 100 hours to create, and it involves me playing around 50 hours of games and trying to get footage of specific scenarios which demonstrate the concepts I want to teach. And after I finish playing a game, I'll typically note down some of the important events that occurred in the game, or things that might be useful for a future lecture, if I'm organized. And each game lasts around 45 minutes. So here is my video library of the files that I use, and that I normally look through when I'm trying to find clips for a lecture. And I plan to have roughly half videos in the lecture and half talking on the slides. So sometimes when I'm making a lecture, and I've decided that I want to include some sort of feature, there are some 30-second scenarios within this 45-minute game that trigger in my memory, which would be good to include. But they happened 2 or 3 months ago, and I might not have specifically recorded it. So if this is the case, I have to go onto the website eloadbuff to find the game where this specific event occurred, so I can go back and record it. And for this to occur, I need to remember what champion I was playing, and what champions other people were playing in the game. I'll then find the date of the game, April 1st, off the website, and then go back to my video library and quickly skip through the game to find the scene I'm looking for. You can see this would be quite a time-consuming process. So, once I decide on the concept I want to cover, for example, Venture Beyond Gold mid lane, which was my latest lecture, I'll sit down and brainstorm the sections I want to cover within the lecture and make a rough framework. I'll then go to uni and download around 20 or so professional replays and watch them in order to get some inspiration about things that I can add to the lecture. And I'll also get my notebook and watch replays on the bus, so I can take ideas down when I'm traveling. Otherwise, I'll just type up notes on the computer while watching a replay. So here is a video of the notes that I took down for lecture 16. And you can see that I try to make it quite neat, so then when I go to transcribe everything, it's quite easy. So after I've decided on all the information I want to include, I start typing it up and putting the information in my lecture slides. And if I do it in a live setting, since I don't use a script, I need the slides to remind me of the things I want to say, as the lecture's quite long and it's not really possible to memorize everything. So I also try to weave little clues onto the PowerPoints to remind me of very certain specific things that I wanted to mention that I would otherwise forget. So this is a little trick I use while teaching. This is a video of the typical slides that I'll go through, and when I try and build the slides, if I'm not using a script, I'll try and put information on there to remind myself of what I need to say. And yeah, so after this, obviously I need to find all the videos that I want to put in the lecture. And this is by far the most difficult and time-consuming component. So I have to go through this massive library of files and figure out what footage would relate to the lecture slides that I've just created, and that I can weave in seamlessly. And as a rule of thumb, I use around 30 videos for one lecture without going over time. So after I've collected these 30 videos, demonstrating the concepts that I want to cover, I put them in order and name them according to the lecture slides that I'll play them with. And this has really helped with my organization, and was one of the things that people complained about in the earlier lectures. So for this portfolio, I wanted to do a little experiment and write myself a script for the very first time. So I knew exactly what I wanted to say, when I wanted to say it, and I planned everything down to the last word. So I planned out every single slide progression, I planned out every video play, and every single word that I wanted to say. And I ended up writing an 8,000 word script, which was shorter than I expected. Here's a picture. So you can see that I'll put advanced slide and what I was going to say in each of the videos. And as a result, I think it was the best lecture I've delivered, as everything was really tight, and some of the viewers really noticed, which was nice. And for this lecture, I actually asked the viewers to write more comments than they do usually. This was so I can improve my teaching for the future and keep improving. And one of the most common complaints was that viewers have short attention spans and they want me to release shorter videos. So I will try and figure out how to accommodate this into my teaching style for future lectures. And my teaching philosophy is all about teaching the fundamentals. I really don't believe in shortcuts, and when I'm teaching a subject, I try to go from as many angles as possible so the viewer appreciates the complexity of the task that they're trying to accomplish. And the way I do this is I usually talk about the principle on the slide. I then give some examples about how to apply the principle in game, and that's in words, and then I'll give 2 to 3 video examples of that principle in action from multiple different angles. And I'll talk about my thought process and things that people need to be wary of, and other situations where the principle is relevant. So this is a rough summary of my teaching style. And I think this allows students to learn the art of analysis themselves, instead of needing to be spoon-fed information in the form of, this is the situation, this is what you do. Instead, I try to teach the students how to think about the situations and how they can overcome the problems themselves. So, thanks for checking out my video, and if you play League of Legends, you can check out my channel at youtube.com/unswlolsoc. Until next time, peace out.